to RFP Delivery and Gov Directions and Gov School. My name is Mark Knowles. I'm one of the founders, and what we're going to do today is to spend some time with you on the search. I think that's always the first step, the search for the perfect opportunity. And if you have any specific search requests, if you want to drop those into the chat, I will try to refer back to them and help us. We can use that as some of the examples of how we actually are going to search. So feel free to do that. I appreciate that. While you're in the room, just a basic request. The first is maintain your mute status. That helps us with background. It allows everybody to enjoy the session. The second is to make sure that you realize we are on YouTube Live for privacy reasons, and so it is recorded, and there will be details there. Near the end, we're going to spend about 20 minutes together today. I like to have these very somewhat quick. We'll on YouTube Live, and then we'll stop the requests there, the recording, and then you can ask any specific questions here in our private room. So I appreciate that. My name is Mark Knowles. I'm one of the founders. I'll give you my image here just for a few minutes. And so I usually just focus in on the screen. But I want to thank you for putting your trust into Gov Directions, our primary brand, and RFP Delivery. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to demonstrate our products and help you out with your government contracting needs. We started our company in 1998 and have been in this sector for now a good long time. I think we're hitting some 20+ years, and so we really enjoy. You probably could tell we enjoy what we do, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide service. Now, what we want to do today specifically is focus on the first step in government contracting. I think a lot of folks come to us by thinking that the first step is registering with SAM, the System for Award Management. In fact, I have it pulled up here. But SAM, of course, is the federal government's accounts payable system, and while it is very important for you to register here as you first start, but it's only for the federal government. And then we quickly realize that that's great and everything, but we don't usually start off at the federal government. This contract's a little bit larger, it's more harder to grab, and a lot more competition. And so then we start wandering around a little bit and realize, hey, I should have started with local and state governments. And for most of us, now there are exceptions depending on, if you're in the business of war, certainly you don't want to, local and state governments may not be their best bet. But if you're in most other businesses, now I think combined, all of this I think we're over 7 trillion, headed toward an $8 trillion marketplace. The opportunities that exist are just unbelievable. We're actually in the, I think some folks refer to it as the golden era elsewhere, but it's truly the golden era in government contracting. I've never seen so much activity at the local, state, and federal levels. Local and state governments have record levels of funding available, and that ultimately gets spent. As you probably are aware, we try to stay on the political part of government contracting, but here we focus it on the money, and that is that if there's an opportunity that exists, we want our members to get to win that opportunity, and so that's always so important to us that you learn and you find the right bid. So once you've registered at SAM, if you're not registered at SAM, System for Award Management, just note, not a bidding platform, but an accounts management, accounts payable platform. So you don't bid there. You learn potentially about contracting and entity information and the hierarchy system, also federal assistance programs, grants, and so forth, how to report back when you actually get an award, the wage determination you have to pay, but you don't actually bid in the system. Okay, you get that UEI, unique entity ID, and then cage code, and then you're off at the federal level. Okay, but state and local is really where we end up at usually. And so, but a lot of times governments at the local and state level like to see that you have that registration for a variety of reasons. It just means that you've been vetted and you're legit and you're ready to go. But RFP Delivery is a mechanism to actually deliver information. Of course, Gov Directions, some of you have come to us through Gov Directions, is our primary brand, and we launched here in 1998. In fact, I usually like to start off with this one little slide here, kind of explain our purpose as we've talked about the federal system, and you're learning and you're seeing right now that this is a fragmented process. Okay, it's not broken by any means of the words. We design our government this way: local, state, federal government agencies. It's fragmented. That means that information is just really essentially everywhere. 140,000 plus locations. Some of us use services that have a couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand governments there, but missing out on a significant part of the system. The federal government alone, it's SAM, DIBS, Navy Bulletin Board, GSA schedules, so forth. State and local agencies. State agencies all 50 of those, but then sub agencies within all this, Department of Transportation's, the state system itself. And not all consolidated. Some states now have it consolidated within the state, but most do not. And then, of course, you have cities and towns. I have a number here, 35,000. So aged itself a little bit. We're now probably in excess of 42,000 cities and towns that are out there. Counties, somewhat fixed there, but then we're looking at provinces and so forth in Canada and our territories, but 3,031 counties that exist. And then, of course, school systems. And we've learned to educate our kids in a lot of different ways. And now that number is probably close to 7,000, 17,000 in school districts and school systems that are buying in some capacity. And then, of course, special districts. These are a lot of times we don't even know they exist. More of us are likely to live in a special district than we are in a city. And they're there for typically a unique purpose. For example, hospital systems, airports, parks, transit systems, and so on. A lot of water and sewer system, water districts, irrigation districts, all with the unique ability, all of these, all 140,000 plus agencies, unique ability to procure and buy, but everywhere. It's in newspapers and their own bulletin boards and so forth. A lot of different locations. And so all as on average, they issue about 5,000 calls for business proposal every single day. I use a puzzle box to kind of explain that. That's what we kind of do. We pull together that puzzle for you. And RFP delivery now is our primary mechanism. If you were at GovDirections before, you can come here and you can search same sort of data, and your username and password works at each. But RFP delivery gives you some more advanced tools to allow you to search so that you can actually go in and type in a keyword, or you can use an app, for example, to pull your bids up. And then, of course, we have other services that we offer to help you really expand in the marketplace, including your capability statement, something that's essential, your ability to write and understand in an experiential way, meaning you learn by doing, we teach. And then, of course, how to use AI. A lot of times people find this somewhat mysterious, but we really train you in how to use it properly so that you can use it to respond. Because after all, it's not necessarily, well, it's important the way you write a response. That is definitely the most important part. But the first step is really finding the bid that really meets you. And just as you know, in our basic systems, you can come in, just type the keyword, one keyword, zip, and go on your way and find it. I do compensation and classification work. Let me just look over there in that chat just to see what I'm seeing in terms of questions. Thank you for okay, just some clarifications there. But if you had a particular one you wanted me to search for, I could potentially do that. But I'll start with some trucks. I have somebody that does a backhoe loader, so I can come in and I could type in a word like backhoe, okay, and then search, or I could go in and type in two words, backhoe loader, meaning they both have to appear together, or it was basically conjunctions when you're doing the individual Boolean search, or it means either words can appear. And I can type in truck and then mean both words have to appear in that way, two words together in truck. And then you can use the conjunction and not. Let's just start with a simple or, backloader or truck. Search, go off, you're on your way. Just to point out that bids in our system are all mapped geospatially. So if you're going down to the block level, I can come in and I can zip into them. You see all over those in Europe and so forth, but they're usually tied to some sort of embassy, maybe some sort of military base, US dollar or Canadian dollar in some way, but really drill down into the block level for transactions. And then I can come in here and see that this is a campus master plan in Utah. Okay, sometimes this really becomes really important if I'm looking, for example, painting. I may not want to go after, a 50-mile radius for my painting jobs, but I can come in here, search, see just the painting jobs that exist. Okay, so you can use the geospatial analysis, really come in the geospatial presentation to really come in there and search. Now, to go back to that one that we were just doing, and that was backhoe loader or truck, when I searched that, it's then going to call through those 52,000. Let's see where we at today. I got up this morning, it was at 51,000. I think we're close to 55,000. And right now there's 151 that are active for you. And you can see that we'll find some basic information for them. And I'll point out a couple of things about our system, which is a little bit different than, say, for example, the SAM system. First of all, we're going to have all local, state, and federal. We're going to tell you where the state, which one is which, because most of us are going to be bidding on local and state government. In fact, there's probably about 20 state and local government contract opportunities for every federal once you get out of the defense spending area. So most of us really do drive into that and more likely to win. You might have 4 or 5 bidding against you versus 40 to 50 at the federal level. So just gives you more opportunity. But each of those will tell you the level, will tell you the due date, and then we'll tell you the state it's in very quickly so you can drill into them. And I will point out a couple of things. The first thing is everything here is active, nothing speculative. Okay. That means that it's not like I'm thinking about buying a new truck, go out and get some prices and never go through with it. Here, these governments have been through an elaborate decision-making process, oftentimes a year or so in the making, sometimes multiple years to get to this point. At this point, the bid's out. They're going to close a transaction on or about that date, and so that's a big differentiator because you're not wasting your time whenever you come into our system. The second thing is we don't work with government, so that's a big uh, difference between us and some portals that exist where they basically sit and wait for the government to publish. Now, we don't do that. When you buy into a system like ours or you use our system, most of which is free, but when you use the system, you actually will see that we have a team of research staff, about 20 individuals who are trained, graduate level oftentimes, to go out and pull information that's everywhere, budgets, minutes of meetings, in the broadcast booths of some sort. Okay, so we don't sit and wait. And the other part is we're using sophisticated systems, scrape the technology that basically goes out, pulls data for you, millions of dollars of investments that you buy into as a cooperative model for local, state, federal, of course, is free. Now, it's not that we dislike governments or we don't want their information. We do. We want them. In fact, about 80% of our bids are posted directly by government using some sort of API of some sort or sending it to us, asking us to publish them because they want to reach you as a part of our audience. We have about 140,000 companies that use us on a proactive basis. They registered with our site, and so they like to reach that audience. And then finally, when you get down here and you see that there's multiple pages, every bid is active. So it's not that you get past the first few and they start to be expired. As you probably know, when you go into some of the government systems, while they do a good job, and I want to potentially, I love these sites, but as you get into it, you'll very quickly see that they're inactive. And you can actually go in there and call those out, of course, but you're looking at a lot of data. A lot of us don't figure that out until we're really into something that bid's already been awarded or it's there. Now, when you're here and you actually see a bid that's of interest to you, here's one, Biosolids Trucking Services in North Carolina. When you open it up, we're going to give you the information in a same sort of way. And when you do your search, you're going to find that. Now, and this is important because when you search through our system, you want to actually start finding a lot of opportunities you don't want to forget. Okay, so you want to come in after you see the basic details and you want to capture the bid. The capture management system allows you to builds a pipeline. And in that process, like this one here on 3 days, it's going to drop out. Well, in your capture folder, it'll stay there for as long as you like. So you can see who wins it, details like that. And as you step into it at this point, believe it or not, we want you to leave us. You go to the government. You have Moore County here in North Carolina. They want to deal with you directly. And that's an important differentiator between us and we're not trying to capture you where you have to do everything in our system and you're locked into it. You can take it and you can run with it. We want you to be successful. We build everything based on that proverb of, basically teaching you to fish and then you can feed yourself for a lifetime, as opposed to just giving you something that holds you within the system and captures you. We don't want that, okay? And we want you working with them directly. Now, you got to follow all the rules and do things, and you learn that process. But the first step of the find is what you have found right here, and you just did it. Okay, it's important that you get that part going straight. Now, I love our GovDirections site. Now, frankly, it was built in 2006. It's liked by a lot of companies who, frankly, when we built the RFP delivery, we were going to flip switch one day and say, "Hey, this is our new GovDirections." But a lot of you came to us and said, "Nah, we won't. We like this linear capacity. We like it very simple, simple, simple." Because after all, it's about the find, and that's what this is most important. So you can actually come in now in our search tool, and you can type in, what are you really looking for? We give you some prompts there, but I'm looking for bucket trucks. And maybe I'm looking for a bucket truck in a particular state. I can type in some more information, then I search, and it's going to give me some analysis of which one's the best ones for me. Okay. And as I step into it, it's going to tell me why it made that decision. Okay. Also stepping into it, I get to see that this one in Georgia, I happen to be in Georgia, knew that in the system. Dalton Utility, great town there. I love Dalton. Has a bid out and it's due on May 14th. And I'm there. I can map it, see where Dalton's at, with something Northwest Georgia. a great area. And this is where the carpet capital of the world is right there. So it's there, and this is actually in the at Dalton Utilities, which is a little bit outside the city, but it's there, and you can drill into it. And a lot of that's important for a lot of us. We have to go to a pre-bid meeting, things like that. But once again, the same goal: out the door into the place where you actually have to bid, and you get the documents, and you go into the location of the bid, and pursue them in the right way. In this case here, you have to call Kevin to get that detail. Okay. Now, when you're looking and trying to go in for the actual find, you'll learn that there's items that you potentially don't, excuse me, you don't know. And so sometimes you really just want to jump online with us in Zoom, okay? And you can go in and choose the open discussion and talk to us. Other times you actually might want to go in there and just learn yourself. YouTube channel, everybody's best friend, like here today. There we are. We're on live on YouTube. But you can see the hours of videos that are ready for you to really learn how to bid, how to go past the find to the actual win. And then, of course, our GovSchool classes, which we do routinely, and we like to have that. And then, of course, our Gov Advice platform. Here, we go just a step further, and we teach in particular areas how to prepare your capabilities, for example, or our most popular services, how to get started, how to actually write in an exponential way, not just pumping something into one of the AI models and hoping for your best. Here, we actually teach you how to use them effectively and make them part of your process itself. All with that, as I mentioned earlier, with that basic proverb of teaching, and then you can do it for a lifetime. So here we are at the 20-minute mark, and I like to keep these things really quick and short for you to learn. And for those that are on came to our YouTube channel today live, make sure you subscribe, and then you actually will get an alert whenever it comes in. We do appreciate the subscriptions. Say something kind there. I do check the comments a little bit later, and I'll go in there and do that. But I'm dropping you now, and I'm going to try to address those who are actually in the meeting with us today. So thank you for coming to us live on YouTube.